Welcome to Urban Sanctuary Sunday Gathering Service. This is our last service on Zoom before we start to gather in person. And what a great way to, as a capstone to our Zoom interviews that we've been doing and had the opportunity to do, created these really great opportunities to meet with people across the country. And one of those people is Darnell Fennel, who is the Director of Social Entrepreneurship at National Benevolent Association. That's a really long title to say all those words, Darnell. So many of our members may not be familiar with what that role involves and how that evolved at MBA. And so if you wanted to give us a little background on what you do, that'd be great.
Certainly. So thanks for having me. I'm definitely grateful for the opportunity to be able to share more about the word social entrepreneurship, which is a term that we hope from our program area begins to flood the church and people begin to embrace this term and be able to see how this term invites us to see new ways of being the church, but not only new ways of being the church, also seeing how this word, although new, is deeply rooted in our faith traditions. So the work that I do as a part of MBA, our health and social service ministry of the Disciples of Christ Christian Church, is I work alongside those who have innovative ideas on how they can express health and social service and social justice in tangible ways in their local context. So in short, social enterprise exists in order to solve a problem. So we think about the Hebrew text of Exodus when we hear the familiar story of Moses who was called because in that call narrative, divine says to Moses, I have heard the cries of my people. And because of God hearing the cries of God's people, God then raises up individuals to be a response. And that is what social enterprise is, where people have discerned and heard the cries of God's people. And as faith-rooted social entrepreneurs, we are compelled to respond in a way that leads toward liberation, that offers care, that offers compassion, and that does justice. So
what you're talking about is people who are stepping into work of deep transformation then. And so, well, that follows a thread that we've been talking about through this series, that these are the places where maybe as Frederick Buechner said, that our call is that place where our deep passion and the deep need of the world intersect and meet. And so that's kind of what you just feels like what you just described is, and that place is very alive. So we've been talking about, like, rather than focusing on the decline of the church, which is a sad and painful topic, what is alive, and so what are you seeing in these places of deep transformation and aliveness in your work and with congregations?
These are individuals who have moved beyond the paradigm of wondering how we can strategize to get people in the building. These are people who have moved beyond sacred cows of holding on to traditions that, of course, are beautiful and meaningful, but recognizing that the world needs a response to a variety of injustices and issues that are happening. And these are the individuals who are saying, I will be the one that you can send, God, send me. These individuals are courageous. These are dreamers. These are people who often work outside of the parameters of the tradition that they have grown up in, because sometimes the tradition takes time to catch up with the vision and what God is doing.
Give us a couple of examples of folks who are out there that you connect with that are particularly inspiring to you.
There's so many. I would definitely not want to call too many names. I work with so many partners, but I would just speak more to the issues that people are responding to. So what it means to respond to food scarcity in neighborhoods, and being able to organize and strategize in such a way that people who are going hungry and often overlooked have access to quality food. We think about those who are in areas that are being gentrified and being pushed out of neighborhoods that have so much meaning to them, what it means to create pathways to affordable housing. And then we also think about those who are creating curriculums for social emotional learning for Black and Brown children who often don't have images in the world of social emotional learning that reflect their lived experiences and what it means to uh, see that as a key piece of their development and a key piece of their wholeness, but wanting to do it in a way that is culturally relevant. Uh, what else do we see? We see those who are working with single mothers or women who are uh, living below the poverty line, being able to give them access to resources that they can thrive economically. Those who are working to create micro businesses for underserved communities to help people start small businesses that they can sustain themselves. These are people who are responding to, like I said, the cries of God's people in innovative ways. And these are the stories that I carry with me every day to work as I work toward strategizing and working in such a way that our program continues to feed and nurture that which they feel called to, that they can continue to scale the impact of their work and will continue to reach new audiences and continue to make a difference in the world.
He's come into MBA, I understand through, if I'm not sure I'm totally up to date, Darnell, so help me out if I'm not, but through the SENT program and through the Incubate initiatives, right? And so how do those work?
Yeah, so we work in two ways. One way is, or most importantly, the overarching theme of social entrepreneurship is that we seek to work with those who are on that runway or in their early stages of development, so 10 years or younger. That's our area of focus. And we want to make sure that we are able to encourage, to strengthen their work in that very vulnerable space that they find themselves in. Any type of startup of any kind is always difficult as you try to find your footing. Burnout is real. Finding access to capital to be able to make sure you can do this meaningful work is also very important. So what we do is we work with SENT, which is now a cohort. We call our SENT cohort. And these are 10 to 12 social entrepreneurs who range from right now from 30 to about 60 years old. So there's a wide spectrum of age, but these are all individuals who are in the startup phase. So startup phase would mean I have an idea, I have a name, I have a concept, but I may not have a website, may not have a board yet, and then have a 501(c) status yet. And I need to figure out how do I take this vision and implement it into a actual organizational model. And what we do through our SENT program is give them the nuts and bolts they need to be able to build out that vision. Then we have our incubate partners, and incubate partners are those who they've already established themselves. They already have a board, they already are engaging the work, but they're very young. And as I said earlier, young organizations are very vulnerable. They're trying to find their way, they're trying to scale forward. They can continue to increase their impact. They're trying to build out. So incubate partners are a more of a longer term relationship, usually 4 years, where we're able to enter into an MOU with that particular organization and offer them grant funding and coaching and consulting resources that help them continue to move forward as they reach ideally the 10-year mark, where they can enter into that time period a lot stronger. They inform us to be more nimble in how we think about our program area, to be able to meet needs as they change, because anybody will tell you entrepreneurs often face challenges that, things can change at the drop of a hat. So how do we remain nimble enough to be able to respond to the very real and unpredictable challenges that entrepreneurs face? So this has just been
we can relate to that around our place a little bit. I think I've bitten my nails down a few times as during the years with trying to get Recovery Cafe, off the ground, and you all, the MBA came alongside and has been such a great support to Recovery Cafe. There might be some newer people in our congregation who aren't aware that and MBA has been a partner with Recovery Cafe on the Incubate initiative for, I think we're probably about to the end of our 4 years, aren't we, Darnell? But it's been a great support, and we received so many blessings.
I'm appreciative that NBA is an organization or general ministry rather that continues to lean into the movements that are happening and do so in such a courageous way. Of course, not always perfect. Nobody's perfect, but uh, I think many people, once they find us, especially those who've had those ideas, those who felt like they have not had the support they wanted or desired around their innovative thinking, and to really feel seen and heard, that in itself was a sacred moment to where you become a somewhat of a well of grace in the midst of a desert to some. So that is those moments are the moments that definitely inspire me most, is to let people know like we're here and we're in your corner and you're not alone.
Whole spirit of creativity, you know. I mean, when I think of how the spirit moves, it's always recreating and renewing and doing something surprising.
Mhm.
So in relation to church, not just nonprofits or innovations, you know, outside or growing out of the church, but the church itself in a way. Some people are saying that that they appreciate now that they can find progress. It's not too hard to find progressive churches or churches doing social justice, but that somehow the container that the church is delivered in doesn't work for them. And I think they might mean the Sunday service by that. And so are you seeing ways that people are reinventing that container out there these days? And if so, what does that look like?
Well, I would say that the container, one way the container is being reimagined is through social entrepreneurship. So, but it also creates, it needs to have a paradigm shift for us all to be able to see that when we respond to a local issue, and we do so in an organizational way or an outreach type of way, and then individuals who may not want to attend a Sunday morning worship experience, but are thrilled to attend the efforts being done by the social enterprise, that is a way in which the container is being shifted right before our eyes. And it's important for us to be able to see that that is being church, right? Uh,
Mhm.
so when our paradigm shifts, we don't say to ourselves, well, they came to work at Recovery Cafe and volunteer, but they didn't come to worship. We are able to see that all of these expressions are forms of worship. And perhaps the container is being shifted right before our eyes. And if we're only able uh, to see it, to celebrate it, and to live into new models. So I have seen congregations, uh, primarily new church starts, that have even had moments where on certain Sundays they're not actually meeting, but they are doing service in their community, or they are responding to an issue that is in alignment to their mission and vision of their congregation. And people will be there, people who may not necessarily be regular church goers, but they are passionate about the activity, they are passionate about the engagement. And in doing so, I believe that is shifting us to see that, wow, maybe our container is shifting right before our eyes, only if we're open to this.
So how would you recommend that we see that? I love that you gave that example of, hey, those people come to the Recovery Cafe, why don't they come to our church? How do you think we should see that um, anyway? Uh, how would you like to phrase that conversation?
Yeah, it's going, the seeing of this reality is not going to be one that is without pain, right? I wish I could just say you'll see it and everybody will rejoice and be glad. But in reality, many of us are attached to our paradigms, and we are attached to the way in which things have always been done. And that making that paradigm shift, that mental model shift, is very difficult for us. So in doing so, I said it will come with a sense of uh, pain, grief, and those are all welcomed. But what we have seen, I gave an example, of course, churches that are doing Sunday morning volunteer community outreach. But I think we've yet to see how this manifestation will look in the future. That what I described sound, I mean, to me as a millennial, that sounds good. I'm inspired, but I feel like we have not yet seen the fullness of what this will be.
Hey, well, thank you for what you do and for the way that you come alongside and support all those fragile little eggs that are trying to give birth to something new, and beautiful ideas. And and thank you for doing that through NBA. And please know that we're so grateful for that partnership and for your vision. So thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Anything else you want to say to Urban Sanctuary before we go?
Just again, my deep thanks, and uh, as we move into a season of Pentecost, to know that all of these conversations that may just seem like conversations are perhaps the rushing wind that is in our midst, inviting us to a new way of being together. So I'm just happy to be able to be a vessel to be able to speak into the room, the work that we're doing at NBA through our social entrepreneurship program, and with hopes that something that is said becomes a rushing wind in someone's heart to be able to feel empowered, inspired to do church, be church in a new and fresh way.